Ooh,
yes, I lived
fancy.
in Yuma most of my life, and I'm married to Sterling Bloomfield. I have 2 kids, Luke and Zeke. And yeah, stay-at-home mama as of now.
Yeah.
So that's how this all kind of spawned on.
So what do you say to those moms that say, oh, my home is stay-at-home? Because a lot of moms would say, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Or really dislike this when people ask, oh, what do you do? Oh, I just stay home. Like, what do you mean you just stay home? That's like the most important job. If you're a stay-at-home mom, that is one of the most important jobs.
Yes.
I know I raised my boys from, well, babies till like when they left home, obviously. But what I mean by that is I never worked when they were really young. Not until like they were like older. But having said that though, there's such a reward in staying home with your kids if you're able to, because I know not all moms are able to, so no condemnation there, obviously.
Yeah. So well, kind of a backstory to that. I was working at the church when I had Luke, and I would actually take him with me. Me and Sterling, we would go to the office, we'd be there at 9, and Luke would be with us, and we did that for about 6 months, and then finally one day I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it just, you know, babies grow and they get older and then they start walking and they start talking and they need more. And so finally, you know, I was very blessed to be able to step back and be a stay-at-home mom. And it's really been, the first little while I was kind of like, what do I do? Because my mom she's like super mom. She works, you know, 2-3 jobs.
Yeah, wow.
So I wasn't raised in the whole stay-at-home mom atmosphere. So I kind of was like, what do I do with my time? But then I started learning, you know, we can be healthier because I can cook meals for the family. We don't have to eat out all the time.
Are you a good cook? Or do I have
I've become a good cook. I did not start off as
so no chef or no cannibal?
I did, well, maybe in the beginning days, but I didn't start off as one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, you start cooking your own meals, you have time to like exercise, you have time to be in the Word more because you're not rushing to get somewhere by 9 o'clock every day.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you know, if you have the ability to stay at home with your kids, you're able to teach them and really instill things into them. Not that you're not able to when you put them off in school, but it's just a different level of time that you've been given. And so you have that time to really take little moments throughout the day and teach them maybe biblical principles or just life principles and how to get through life as an adult. You know, teach them little things now. So
absolutely. Now, you don't have to answer, but we'll answer if you want. But are you planning on homeschooling them, or is that in the conversation between you and Sterling? Yes,
and I think we've kind of been back and forth for a couple years.
Because I know a lot of moms out there are kind of debating, should I homeschool, should I not? So
right, and to be totally honest, I never saw myself as a homeschool mom. When I was in high school, I didn't even want to be a mom. But then I had my first kid and I was like, oh my gosh.
I want another one.
Yes, I want to be like, I want 12 kids. I love children.
Wow.
I love my kids. But, so yeah, you know, the last couple of years we've gone back and forth about it. And I think kind of with the way the world's going, it's leaning towards, we're probably going to homeschool.
Wow. So. Well, I homeschooled my boys and I loved it. Yes, there's challenges and there's some moments where you're like, you learn a lot of breathing techniques, but you just learn to cope and you learn to say, you know what, boys, break time for the rest of the day. We'll start over tomorrow. So I learned how to do a lot of those and we got through it. So, and they did very, very well.
And your boys are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Just great young men. And,
so proud of them. Yeah, I miss them so.
Aww.
All right, so are you ready to go to the first question? Okay, so what is Savvy Mama about? So how did that concept start? Where did the idea, where did you get that inspiration?
Yeah, so like I said, I became a stay-at-home mom and I was kind of like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And you kind of go through this phase, even if you're not a stay-at-home mom, I think women, we tend to almost lose ourselves in who, not really lose ourselves, but that's not a good way to put it, but we tend to, when we become mothers, we just love our children, we become wives, we just want to be the best.
But I do want you to know that comment you just made, it is very true in a lot of women.
Oh, so, absolutely, absolutely. And we just want to please our close relatives, we want to please our children, we want to please our husband, and we tend to forget that person who we were before we were married, before we had kids.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Jade did exist, right? And not that putting your family as a top priority is a bad thing, but at the same time, we have to learn to navigate our own personal lives, because I always say when we die, it's just us and Jesus.
Yeah.
We don't get to take our husband with us, we don't get to take our kids with us. So our heart, the condition of our heart, the condition of our soul, our mind, body, and soul, it matters.
Absolutely.
So on that channel, I like to talk about, I say wealth, wisdom, and happiness. So I like to talk about the 3 areas that really affect our lives the most. Right?
So you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah. So let's go Okay, well, yeah, well, I guess it's pretty much, it matches up with the third question. So tell us a little bit about Savvy Mama. When people go on your, whether it's YouTube channel, Facebook, or Instagram, what should they expect?
So a little on my social media, I like to be funny. I like to post things that just make people laugh. Sometimes I'll post little one-liners, little advice things, but most of the time it's just to give people something to chuckle about or something to think about. I like to make people think too. And then when you go to my YouTube channel, it's like I said, wealth, wisdom, and happiness. I like to talk about how to grow your wealth, how to feel wealthy even though you might not be wealthy, how to budget. Wisdom, I love talking about the Word of God, you know, all things that apply to what's going on in our current situation in life. And then happiness, like you have to have joy. You can't go out through your life being depressed and having anxiety all the time. You have to have a good, healthy mental state. So I like to talk about that too.
So I love that, healthy mental state. So how can you, what a word of advice would you give to those women that feel like, I don't have a healthy, you know, mindset right now with everything going on? How do you balance everything that's going on to really stay focused on something that's joyful? Because, you know, some people might say, oh, look at you guys, look all cheery. But we've had our moments, I'm sure, behind closed doors. I know I have, behind closed doors, where it's like, God, what just hit the earth? What happened? Right?
Especially this year.
No, that's what I'm saying for this year. But nonetheless, life has to go on, and you're still a mama, you're still a wife. And so encourage the ladies. How do they balance that?
Well, I actually just posted a video today about conquering your giants and facing your fear. But one thing that the Holy Spirit gave to me, I think it was like 2 months ago when I first started doing YouTube, and he actually spoke it to me because I was too nervous to do a video. And I felt like the Holy Spirit said to me, quit waiting until you have confidence.
Oh, so good.
Because confidence doesn't exist, courage does.
Repeat that.
Confidence doesn't exist, courage does. So if you go throughout your days with courage rather than waiting for confidence, confidence it's just never gonna come. You're never gonna be 100% confident. But you can have courage and just do it anyway. And so sometimes life, you have to be like that. You have to, you know, maybe you feel like the world is ending. Maybe you feel like we are in end times. And sometimes I feel the same way. No, so short little story. I was sitting in this lineup at Starbucks today. And I was just thinking about all that, thinking about where we're at in the world. God only knows. We could just be on a weird page turner, or we could be in the chapter of Revelation. We could be. And I was just thinking, God, if this is the end, if we're headed towards the end, how, like, I don't care if I starve, but if I'm not taking the mark of the beast, how am I going to feed my kids? I literally, that's my brain just goes on this big tangent. I said, how am I going to feed my kids? And I'm kind of getting teary-eyed praying to Jesus, and I got my kids in the back seat, and we're in Starbucks. And I order a little drink, and I order like a cake pop, and I pull up to the window, and the lady says, oh, the car in front of you paid for it. And I felt like the Holy Spirit said, I will totally take care of you. You don't need to worry about it. And so just being in tune with the Holy Spirit.
Wouldn't it be cool if somebody did that at Dillard's?
I know.
Don't worry about it. I got it.
It's like $900.
Or wherever you shop. Like, I'm not a big Dillard's shopper because not a many bargains there, but store that popped up.
But it was just like the Holy Spirit just reminding me, like, I'm listening to you, I'm watching you, I have got your kids. And then we didn't get not one cake pop, but we got 2 free cake pops.
Wow.
So there you go. Both the boys got it. So
sweet.
Anyways, just being in tune with the Holy Spirit and trying to keep your heart right before God, because that really is going to give you the rest.
So good. Can you talk about depression a little bit? And women desiring to do something, but then depression just hits. And once again, going back to they don't have the confidence, or you know, they're waiting for the moment until I have this, then I can pursue it. And I'm kind of making light of it, but like even earlier today, I had gone out because I had orientation at a job that I just got, and my hair it looked pretty decent. But it was hot out there, so when I returned, my hair did not look like it did earlier in the day. And before I know it, like, oh my gosh, we have to go live right now. And I'm looking at myself like, I do not have time to curl my hair. And I'm thinking, you know what? It's not like I'm gonna cancel it.
Right.
The show must go on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so even with semi-flat hair, it's like, we're doing this, right? And so that's kind of a silly analogy, but in real life, many women want to have the fluffy hair all the time, and if it's not curled in the perfect spot, and I'm not talking necessarily in the literal sense, but they just want everything in place, like you said, to then pursue the next. And so what do you say to that?
The first thing I would say to that is start giving yourself the grace that you give everybody else.
So good. Good advice.
Because it is so easy as women to just give everybody all the freedom and grace and forgiveness, and then we're so hard on ourselves. Hey, we've become best friends. But yeah, give yourself the grace that you give everybody else. And then secondly, have a plan for your day. I know that's so basic to say, but sometimes when we're like working or we're constantly go, 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 then we have the weekend off and then we just spend the weekend kind of slummy and then we get really down and the week starts again. It's kind of like this weird habit that we have because we're like, oh, on this big high and then this big crash, and it's okay to rest, but maybe have a plan for your resting season. Like, how long are you going to do this? Are you going to go, paint your nails, whatever. Have a plan for your day, even if it's a simple day, and you'll find that you'll have a little bit more joy. Like, I even plan little things like, in the morning, I'm going to cook breakfast and light the candles. Like, just a couple things that give me joy throughout the day, especially as a stay-at-home mom. A couple things that just make me smile. You do those frequently and you start to notice that you're smiling more often.
Absolutely. And one thing that I would encourage women that are married and or that you have children and it's all about the kids, can I tell you, and I know this advice is going to sound terrible, but I've been married for 31 years, not perfect, but I've been married for 31 years, and if there's one thing that's worked for us is continue dating one another. And okay, this is the bombshell here. Do not make children the center of your world, because your kids grow up and they're going to leave either with the love of their life or they're going to take off on a path, and it's going to just be you and your spouse. And Amador and I learned that many years ago when the boys were really young, and they hated when we would take dates. Why can't I go? And they should have been actors. With these big old crocodile tears. Why can't we go? This and that. And I remember one time I told them, which I'm sure they didn't get, but now they do. I just said, trust me, everything Dad and I do by ourselves, it's an investment, and we're going to become better parents to you guys. And it really, because we came back refreshed. And so, long story, when our boys grew up, and they took off, it didn't feel like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Now it's just you and I. And a lot of couples actually do experience that, where they feel totally lost when there's kids leave because there's nothing left, because they didn't nurture that marriage. So
that's so good. So true.
Yeah,
I love that.
Just a moment of a Salem moment. A
moment of truth.
A moment of truth. Oh my gosh. So, anything else you want to add to that?
No, that's great. I love it.
So, give us. Is there any? Can you see anybody asking any questions or? We're gonna see if anybody.
We got Janet Little said ha ha ha. Glad to know we're funny.
Hi Janet.
Hi Dad. My dad's watching.
Oh sweet. Hi Jake's dad.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions that you want to ask me or Alma? You do.
And by the way, this is Zoe. This is Zoe girl. Her and Jade are buddies now.
Yeah, she barked at me for a while until I taught her how to lighten up.
All right, so let's go to 3 savvy financial tips.
Love it.
Give us 3 savvy financial tips. And I called it that because savvy mama. So what would be one of them?
Well, first I'm just gonna assume that you're a Christian if you're watching. If you're not, DM me because I'll make you a Christian. We're gonna come to know Jesus. Okay?
Evangelist Jade. Change it from savvy mama Jade to evangelist Jade.
I know. But first of all, tithing is key. Tithing is number 1. Sterling and I, the check that we make, it doesn't even hit the bank before the tithe comes out. And I can't tell you how many times where we've been in a situation where we needed money and boom, the money just pops up or it shows up in the mail. Like there was one time when we were getting ready to have Zeke and we decided last minute we were gonna go to a natural birth center in Phoenix all the way from Yuma, and they said we need $3,000 and we didn't have $3,000 at the time at all. We had no savings at the time. We had just moved a house, blah, blah, blah. So we have no money. So then Sterling's parents gave us a couple $100s. We were like, yay, awesome, that's a start, And then this IRS check that we had been trying to get for 2 years showed up in the mail the next day.
Wow.
And it was the exact amount of money we needed. So God just always provides. They always say at church, you have a tither's right. When you tithe, you have tither's rights. That means you can withdraw from that bucket when you are in desperate need and your heart is right before God, He has you.
Wow.
So tithing is number 1 for me. Secondly, having a budget. Do not go from paycheck to paycheck without knowing where your pennies are going.
Can you give us a visual of a sample of a budget? Sure. A simple version?
Yeah.
Like a starter.
Ours kind of looks like, the money that comes in during that time period, and then first is tithe always, and then we have the bigger, things going on the budget like the mortgage and APS, the things we can't technically live without, and then the smaller things, cable, tanning salon, all the little things that we could cancel if we had to. And then of course there's groceries, savings, and it just kind of goes down. But you should have a plan for your money. I know so many people that are, well beyond me in life and they still don't have a budget.
Wow.
And it's not about you becoming a millionaire, it's about you organizing and being responsible with what you've worked so hard to get. You
Absolutely.
spent time away from your family. Why would you shoot yourself in the foot and not know what you're going to do with that money?
Yeah, it makes me so sad to see, and again, there's different reasons, I'm sure, so I'm not judging the situation at an equal level, but I do know that there's some older people that are supposed to be retired, but they have to work because they weren't savvy with their money.
Right.
And now they're older, they're in a place where Social Security is just not helping them cover everything.
Right.
And even if it is, it's at the bare minimum where they're basically getting it just to pay their necessities and they're not really enjoying life.
Right.
Which is really
That's
sad.
hard. Yeah.
That is very hard.
Yeah, that is.
So.
And then I think the third thing would be, like I said, have a plan for your day, have a plan for your money. Sterling and I frequently have to go back and look at that because you can have a plan to just pay your bills, but if your only goal for your money is to just pay your bills, then you're going to end up wasting a lot of money because you're trying to gratify this vacation you're wanting but you're not really addressing, or this new outfit you really like but instead you're going to go buy 6 t-shirts at Walmart.
Which your dress is so beautiful. She walks in and I'm like, wow, Jade is like so impressed. She looks like, there was this movie you were not born yet. It was called The Woman in Red. I don't remember.
No, I never seen
I don't remember what the movie was about, but I do. It was about a woman in red, and I think it's because she was wearing this amazing red dress. I don't remember anything else. Anyway, so you're like the modern 2020 version of The Woman in Red.
That's so sweet. Thank you. But yeah, have a plan for your money, whether it's an investment you want to do in the future, whether it's like you and Amador, you built your own cottage, like that's amazing, but you had to have a plan to get there.
Yeah.
You know, and you
There's
can't
a lot of discipline.
You can't just be a dreamer. You know, it's good to dream, but you have to be disciplined too. You can't just be a dreamer. So yeah, those would be my top 3 things to keep in mind when it comes to finance.
So good. Do we have any questions? Anybody
None so far.
No?
So
all right. Gotcha. Alrighty. So oh my gosh. So what is your recommendation, you think? You know, earlier in the year, and I'm not making light of it, but earlier in the year, everybody was out buying toilet paper and the skin sanitizer. Was it skin sanitizer?
Hand sanitizer.
Oh, skin. Well,
you could use it all over.
It sanitizes your skin. So yeah. So the hand sanitizer and also dish soap. It was hard to find dish soap for whatever reason. And so what would you consider, even if we're not in a pandemic, some things that you would say, you know what, it would be good for you to have this in storage, you know, for long term?
I have a doctor that I follow on YouTube, and he says, in case there were a food shortage, you don't need to go crazy. You get yourself, you know, 6 extra bags of rice and 6 extra bags of beans because that can actually nutritionally supply you.
Do those never go bad?
They go bad after a few years. And if you store it, put it in some Tupperware, you know, so where no critters can get in.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's like good nutrition if there was like nothing else. And then I've been telling everybody, I don't know why I feel it on my spirit. We just don't know. It could be great this Christmas and then it could just be a little cray-cray like the rest of the year. So I've been telling everybody, get yourself a little present for somebody every payday so that by Christmas time,
that is so smart.
you don't have to like, what if Amazon shuts down or what?
That's
we just
really
don't know right now. Yeah, so start doing your Christmas shopping now and just get it all stored away in your closet so that you can have a fun time with your family no matter what's going on.
Such a smart tip.
That's kind of just been on the back of my mind.
So good. Yeah, there's actually a meme that you send me. Was it that everybody thinks that, oh, you haven't gone shopping? Well, you're saving a lot of money because you're not going out shopping.
Oh, yeah, and there's 50 packages from Amazon. That is me. That's
exactly. So what do you do to save money? I mean, you already gave some tips, but like in your personal, like, so you want this beautiful outfit. It's just, how do you budget your personal, you know, to get what you want, the girly things? Is it pretty much the same concept? Or do you do something a little different?
I told you about the whole Gwinny Bee thing that I do.
Oh, go ahead, share.
Yes, so there's an app you can get called Gwinny Bee. It's GWINNIEBEE. And basically what it is you rent name brand clothes. And you can buy them. So I just discovered last night that the more you put, so you get to choose, you kind of get to shop and you create your own personal closet. And so every time you click go, it'll send you 2 clothes from your closet.
Oh, nice.
But the more clothes you put in your closet, the more points you earn. And you can actually buy clothes with your points.
Very nice.
So I'm only a few points away from being able to buy a dress for total free.
Wow.
So, but anyways, I think it's like $65 a month, and you get every week, you send your bag back and they send you 2 new clothes. And I always get, you know, Calvin Klein dresses or Vince Camuto. This unfortunately is not with one, but the one, they're just beautiful. They're made really well. You know, what would normally be
expensive from that?
This one isn't, no, but it's very good clothing, like stuff you would find at Dillard's or Nordstrom or whatever.
Wow.
And $65 a month. I literally have not shopped for clothes since February.
Wow.
So that has been a big money saver, because you think about how many little things you pick up throughout the month, it's probably more than $65.
So what about the you know, a lot of times online can be like very iffy. Like one size at, let's say, Kohl's can be totally, they're small, depending on the brand. One brand, the small fits like a medium, and another one fits like a large, and another one it fits like a size -1.
Yeah.
So how does that work? What size is it accurate?
The first month is kind of funny because you're just putting in your guess, but then once you actually get the clothes, they have you fill out a questionnaire that says, you know, was the bust too tight? Was the waist too tight? And you answer that, and then based on your answers, they'll recommend a different size the next time you order something. So if you just follow their recommendations, it typically will fit really well. So,
oh, that's so good. Wow. So any other places that you go to save money?
I love Walmart. I get all my essentials, like, you know, tank tops, t-shirts, socks, underwear, all that stuff from Walmart.
And I have to admit, Walmart has gotten some really cute clothes. The only thing I don't like about it right now is that I think they still don't let you try on your clothes, right?
With the coronavirus thing?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And I don't think you can return them to the store.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Kohl's will not allow you to try on clothes at their shop, but they allow returns.
Right.
And so does Marshall's, and so does Ross, and all the stores. Just in case, girls.
So Luke calls the coronavirus, he calls it the Kona virus.
The Kona.
And today he was watching Ryan. I don't know if you know who Ryan is on YouTube. Everybody who has kids knows who Ryan is. And he was watching Ryan play at this indoor play place, and he's like, I want to go there today. And I said, well, Luke, we can't go there today because it's closed down because of the coronavirus. And he goes, no, Mommy, today when the coronavirus is over, we'll go.
Oh,
Like, okay.
sweet. So sweet.
Just random, so.
So sweet. So give us some tips. How do you and Sterling get away? How do you guys budget your dates? And with the kids, how do you balance it?
Grandparents are awesome.
Yeah, and free, I'm sure.
Yeah, and free. Yeah.
Unless they're like, yo, take one kid, that's 2 kids.
You want to be the star of the show? She wants to be the star. So grandparents are awesome. We usually, Sterling's parents will take the kids for a couple hours a week, and then my mom will take the kids for a couple hours a week. And we only, you know, each grandparent gets them once a week. It's not like we try to burden. They have their own lives too. But when they do take them, especially with the coronavirus, with everything going on, we've kind of been at home mostly. So what we've done is we'll go pick up groceries and cook a meal together, or Sterling.
So you mean you go grocery shopping, come back to your house, cook, but without the kids?
Yes. Just something fun.
Well, just let me pause there, because many times when people think date, the assumption is, for a lot of people, I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of people, is that you're going somewhere to stay there, whether it's a restaurant, whatever, movie, well, right now not a movie, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. But
it's actually quite nice. It's a little more restful. You don't feel like you have to like go out.
Yeah.
And then Sterling YouTubed how to make those chunky knit blankets. Do you know, like they're like farmhouse blankets where you weave them together. They're just, people know they're like all over. They're just big, like
but what are they filled with?
Wool fabric woven blankets.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the food.
No. Blankets. Chunky knit blankets.
Oh, he likes to make blankets?
So we learned.
Food to blankets.
I know. Well, I'm just telling you what we do on our date at home. So we actually learned how to make blankets. So we sit there like, little old people, and we weave our blankets while we watch the show or whatever. It's really fun. So we've been doing that together.
Well, I got to taste a little of your cooking the other day with those baked potatoes, and you left a few, and actually we saw them too.
Oh, good.
So then the other day, I think it was the following day, he heated a couple, he nuked a couple of them, and he's like, these are really good. And my husband Amador is an amazing cook. So for him to compliment your cooking, they were really good.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I got to learn how to make those. Yeah, so super
Jenna
good.
was just texting me asking me how to cook them. I didn't know they were.
Well, then with Jenna salad, that was so delicious. It was like the perfect combo. And then the tiramisu cake.
I know.
Yeah. And then I made lemonade.
I know, you're so fancy.
No. Anyways, But so that's really cool that you guys have dates at home.
Yeah.
You know, and I can imagine that that's probably less expensive. Well, depending on what you buy to eat, obviously.
Right.
To come back at home and, you know, just be there in the privacy of your own home.
I feel like it's so easy right now to kind of be like, well, we can't go on a date because coronavirus.
Right,
it's like,
right.
no, there's no excuses. Like, make your home fun, get it clean, dress up cute,
Yeah.
and do something to build a memory.
Okay, let's stay there. You just said dress up cute. What do you mean by that?
Well.
Because another. Oh, sorry, you're stepping on Zoe. I didn't mean to get that personal. I think, okay. So, no, I get that. I think what went to my mind is like, do you mean cute like jammies? Or like, do you get into cute G's? Because, you know, like you would think, oh, when you're at home, do you just kind of like, whatever?
Well, like,
or do you go out of your way to actually look cute?
I would do, like if we're having an at-home date, I usually have a cute pair of jeans and a cute top.
Yeah.
But I do my hair and makeup and try to look
That's so nice.
presentable and fun. And
Ladies, please be inspired by that, because I think what happens is when we're home and we just take our time with our husbands for granted, and we think, well, he's already seen me without makeup, and you know, it's him, and not that you don't love him, but I think without realizing it, we're just not really appreciating them as much as we should, and we take them for granted because they're home with us every single night. And so I just think a little bit of color on your lips, and it's kind of like the desert. The desert is beautiful, but when some of the flowers start sprouting, just a little color here, a little bit of color there, it just makes the desert so much more beautiful. So I just think you just need a little bit, you know, fluff up your hair and just make your husband say, nice.
yeah.
And sometimes they won't actually say it, but it's just their body language. You know,
it's all about how you feel, you know, the experience. Life is a big experience.
Yeah, give them something beautiful to come home to.
Yeah. And something too I've noticed that, I don't know if other women tend to do it, maybe you do, but I tend to, you kind of get in the go mode and then you're at home and maybe it's the end of the day and you're sitting on the couch with your family and you don't really like snuggle on the couch with your husband the way you did when you were dating. And that kind of hit me the other day, and so this morning I woke up and I had my coffee on the couch like Sterling and I always do, but we're normally just sitting on the couch. So today I just kind of leaned my head on his shoulder, and I tell you, it made the difference in the whole day. We just had a sweeter.
Do you find yourself sometimes being out wherever, it could be the store, wherever, and again, you're just kind of walking, and then you just realize, oh, we should be holding hands. Not so much because you want others to see you, but because it's just, even you could be intimate even out in public.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What I mean by that, just be connected to one another. And I know with me, when I'm out in public with Amador, I love holding hands, because especially with these times, it just gives me a little bit more security, more strength, and more peace, and I really get that from him.
Right. And I think too, during this year, the one thing, and I've told Sterling this over and over and over again, so you know what I've learned this year? I really, really, truly have learned how to be content. Because I can't go shopping. I can't go escape in a movie.
Yeah.
You know, all I have right now is my home and my family.
Yeah.
And the food I put on the table.
Yeah.
And that has really taught me to like cherish that and soak that up and not take that for granted.
Yeah.
And once you kind of have everything taken away, what does the Bible say? Like all those idols will be cut down. When all those idols are burned, where is your heart? Where's your heart at? Because when all that stuff is taken away, what really matters to you? You know, and I've really had to face that this year, and it's really been a blessing. Like, I really love my family, and I love being a wife, and I love being a mom. And everyone out there who's watching, we are so blessed to just have the people in our lives that we do, you know? And it's so easy to just get on this big rat race and forget about really what matters.
So give us 3 tips on how can women do express love to their husbands in an obvious manner. Oh, I know he loves me, or whatever, but what can they do to really show them like that they're special?
Yeah.
Not only with words, but with actions.
Yeah. One thing I tend to do, because my love language, our love language tests, you know, we took those, and he's physical touch. Of course, I feel like every guy is physical touch.
Okay, explain that a little bit, because some women might be like, what do you mean by love language?
You can take the 5 love languages test online. You can go just Google 5 love languages quiz, and it's a quiz, and it kind of teaches you why your emotional bucket is the way it is, like why you respond to your husband a certain way, why he responds to you a certain way, based on how your needs are being met or not being met.
Yeah.
And so there's 5 different love languages, and I think it's words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, quality time, and what am I missing? There's another one in there.
Words of affirmation, did you say physical touch? Gifts.
That's the fifth one. So he is physical touch and quality time. Those are his. Well, mine is acts of service and words of affirmation.
Wow.
So I tend to kind of get on this, like, house is gonna be clean, everything's gonna be perfect, and I really could care less about affection. Like, it doesn't just, I don't, like, I can survive if I don't get a hug. I don't really think about it, you know what I mean? Whereas for him, if he's not getting the hug, he kind of is like, dang, she's distant, like, what's up with that? So I've really, now that I know that, I go out of my way during the day to just kind of rub his shoulder or just grab his hand or hug him or just do something that says, you know, this isn't really, this isn't gonna make, you know, the world changer for me, but it does for you, so I'm going to go out of my way to do that for you. You know, and I feel like that communicates love a lot.
So a while back, because I'm very like, I'm kind of a variety. One of them is physical touch. It's more like with my husband, whether it's holding hands or, you know, just things like that. So anyhow, so I remember there was a season where he was just becoming very distant, not like in a bad way where he was mad at me, but again, he was totally fine with it, oblivious to it. But I was like, you know what, you already, you know, you're not holding my hand as much, and you know, I was just complaining. So then one day I'm standing at the kitchen sink in our other home, and out of nowhere he goes, hi babe, and he just does this, and no, but then I said no. And he said,
don't touch me.
Geez, exactly. He said, geez, babe, I was just trying to be loving. I go, no, you're just doing it because I told you.
Oh, I've been there.
So then he said, well, geez, babe, you're not giving me a chance. Like, I'm really trying. So, ladies, if you express a certain concern or whatever it is to your husband on what he's doing enough, not doing enough up or too much up or whatever it is, give him a chance.
Don't automatically write him off.
Right, don't automatically write him off, which honestly that's what I wanted to do because like, no, it didn't come on automatic. You did it because I told you and it just didn't feel genuine and blah, 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 blah. But I was being very, very unfair.
Right.
And so later on, it was like the other way around where I had to ask him to give me a chance to, not so much to prove, but with my action just to let him know that I was trying. So it goes both ways.
Right.
And in being married for so long, even if it's 5 years or whatever, you learn to kind of meet in the middle. Meet in the middle. But how does all of that, because some people might say, well, what does any of that have to do with money and the savvy mama money finances? Because I do see a connection, but how do you see a connection in everything we've talked about and how it could lead back into money?
Well, like I say, the way, not how much you have,
right,
but the way you treat your money is a response to the condition of your heart. Whatever is going on inside is gonna come out. It's gonna come out in your money, it's gonna come out in your marriage, it's gonna come out in your body, it's gonna come out everywhere.
Yeah, because if your finances are out of order, don't expect your marriage to be in order.
Something else is out of order.
Right, and if your marriage is out of order, finances may be a part of it. I know, speaking from experience, and you have to talk about it.
And there's those seasons that are just wonky where something happened, you know, we're not talking seasons, we're talking
pattern,
it comes out everywhere, and so sometimes you have to step back and ask. I like that prayer. I think David said it in Psalms. He said, God, reveal to me the sins that I commit that I don't even know.
Wow.
Because there are things that may be totally, like, God doesn't, you know, hold it over our head, but according to the book of law, it might be a sin. But we just let it go over our heads, but we don't realize it's damaging our life. Maybe it's a thought pattern. Maybe it's a habit that you have when nobody else is around. Whatever it is, allow God to make your heart tender and bring that to the surface so you can get rid of it.
So good. I totally agree. I know when there's financial tension, there's things that I don't want to talk about, but that you feel it even if you don't talk about it. So with us, it really works to say, okay, let's just admit it. We got ourselves into this.
Right.
How can we team up to get out of it?
Right.
Instead of you did it, and even if it's the spouse's fault, you know, just say, you know what, how can we team up to get out of this?
Right. And just like with any sin, it's the same thing with money. You can't get better with your money if you're always shaming yourself.
So
you can't get better at anything if you're always shaming yourself. So you have to drop the shame, and you have to drop the shame for your spouse.
So true.
And when you do your budget, it's not something you just do alone. If you're married, you don't just do it alone. You and your spouse sit down. You and your spouse pay the bills together. You guys look at the checking account. You look at the savings account, both of you, so that there's no questions asked. Come up with a plan for the week. What day are we gonna eat out? What days are we gonna cook at home? Like, come up with a plan so that, like, Sterling and I, we don't have to argue about money because we talk about it every Friday. Every Friday we talk about it. So we know what the week looks like.
That is really good.
But it's not an argument. And they say that's one of the biggest arguments that destroy a marriage.
So you choose to have a discussion before it becomes an argument.
Nice. So then it becomes a plan. And
you're so wise for your age. So
you know what? I learned from people like you and my mom and Pastor Lucinda. I've just learned a lot of wisdom from you ladies.
So good.
But yeah, just if you have a plan, it saves a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I totally agree. And I think being open with your spouse is definitely key. I'm sorry, I felt something on my life and it was Zoe doing like Zoe accident. But yeah, absolutely. I just think that the more open you are with your spouse, the better. But I do understand that it can't be scary at times because you don't want to face the reality of sometimes facing the mess that you got yourself.
Right, and there's been times too where, you know, back in like February when all this stuff started and I had my credit card and I was just like stressing out, so I'm gonna just Amazon this, Amazon that, and then all of a sudden the Friday hits and I'm like,
oh wow.
I kind of went a little overboard.
Yeah.
But being able to sit down with Sterling and go, okay, you're right, I totally overspent, so here's what we can do next week. Next week, why don't you take the credit cards and I'm just gonna have cash. And if you set me, you know, I'm gonna have $100 cash and that's it. That's my spending money for the week. Like, be honest with yourself and set boundaries for yourself. And then your spouse can hold you.
Oh my gosh, if there's anything you guys remember, guys, boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah, that is so good.
Well, and then your spouse is there to hold you accountable, so like you can't lose.
Boundaries, accountability. I love that. I love that. Yeah. That is so good. So boundaries, accountability. Add a third one. Boundaries, accountability,
and just talk.
Honesty. Yeah. Ooh, there you go.
Be open.
Those are three really good points. So boundaries, accountability, and honesty. Communication.
I fully believe that there should be nothing you can't tell your spouse about yourself.
Wow.
Nothing. Your relationship with your spouse should be just behind your relationship with Jesus. And if you can't spew something, Sterling always says, I'd rather leave you than lie to you.
Wow.
And that is our motto. I would rather leave you than lie to you.
Wow.
And if you can be that transparent, nothing can cut you. Nothing can cut your marriage.
And nobody can use anything against you.
No, because
or intimidate
oh
you.
my gosh, no. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So good. So let's see if we have any questions.
Let me see. Yes, contentment and peace. Jenna, you're making my potatoes.
Yay! Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, please. Don't be embarrassed. Just say whatever you're thinking. Any random question, even if it's silly.
So is Jenna making your potatoes?
She is. How are your potatoes turning out, Jenna? I want to know.
Are they as good as Jade's?
Let's see here. Let's give everybody a minute. If you're just joining on, I see a couple people just started watching. If you have any questions, this is like a live Q&A here at this point. So please.
So we're just having girl talk about finances, marriage, life, and you know, I know that the advice you've been giving has really applies to all stages in life.
Of course, yeah.
But I don't want to forget about the single girls and the single ladies that might feel like you're just talking about marriage and kids. What about those single girls? Who do they go to when they feel like stuck or they feel like I'm having financial problems? What piece of advice do you give them?
Well,
who do they go to?
This did not start. A lot of people, you know, might think this all started when I got married, but it didn't. When I turned 18, I said to myself, I want to live on my own, and I want to know what it feels like to be responsible for myself before I get married. Now, if you're not in a position to be able to do that, I'm talking about the mindset. Start, if you are still in high school and you want to be married one day, or you're out of high school but you're not married, or even if you're older and you're not married, be responsible for yourself. Start cutting people off. Start asking your parents to stop paying your bills.
Oh wow.
Start paying for your own phone bill.
Some people just said, I'll see you later.
Log off.
I have to log off, bye.
No, but I did that. I mean, I got my own apartment, I paid for my car, my phone, everything. And there was points where I was literally cooking rice and soy sauce for dinner. But I went to sleep with the satisfaction that I knew how to be a grown woman.
Wow. Without
anybody else babysitting me. And I feel like a lot of people my age in our generation, we tend to have the spirit of entitlement. Everybody says that about millennials. But the deal is, not every millennial is that way.
That's right.
And not every millennial has to be that way. Even if you grew up a spoiled brat, you can make the choice today to take responsibility into your own hands for your own life.
Yes, I have 2 sons that are on their own, and believe me, they're very responsible. And so a lot of young people get a really bad rap. I think they get judged by the few, and I totally disagree. I see a lot of young, responsible adults.
And then something I did too, when I was like 13, I joined the silver ring thing. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's like an abstinence program, and you wear your ring.
It was huge back in the day.
And you know, of course, life happened, and I wasn't totally perfect, but I did my absolute best. But something I did from the time I was 13 until I got married to my husband was every time I felt lonely or I wanted to go on a date and I wasn't dating somebody, or you know, in high school sometimes, maybe it's just the way I grew up, I've been through a lot, and you want to, dress a little provocative or whatever to get some attention. You get like that as a young girl. But instead of doing that, I tried so hard. Every time I would feel that way, I would write a letter to my husband and explain how I was feeling.
Do you still have those letters?
I do. I do. So he had this big old box that I gave him, and there's a whole story behind the box. It was already hidden. Whatever. So yeah, it was really cool. And we got to read that throughout the honeymoon and whatever. And it was just fun. My little 13-year-old self, just funny. We had some good laughs.
And Sterling's probably like, babe, man, you are so blessed with me. Like, oh, look at that. Like, woo. The Lord answered the desires of your heart.
I am. No, I am. I totally am. But yeah, there's so many things you can do. You know, you don't have to just be hoping for the future and not creating it now.
It's funny because my heart behind wanting to interview you was to focus more on the financial world and this and that. But I still wanted to add some things about for your personal life and being a mom and your children, this and that. And we've touched so many different avenues, and I love it because I think that whenever you talk about family, there's money involved.
Oh yeah.
If you're single, there's money involved.
If you talk about the world, there's money involved.
And it's not like we're not talking about the love of money, but the bottom line is if you don't have money, you can't pay your rent, you can't buy the car that takes you to go to get to work, so on and so forth. So I just think we've had a very fun but important conversation and open conversation, and hopefully you guys were inspired to just maybe stop and think about your finances, your relationships, see where you're at, and ask the Lord, where do I need to set a boundary? Where do I need to have an open and serious conversation with my spouse? And if you're single, with yourself, and actually even if you're married, you need to have that conversation in your heart. What do you need to change? Because sometimes the spouse is very responsible, but it doesn't matter if you're always messing it up.
Right.
If you're behind his back constantly shopping and you're hiding the packages in the closet, him going out to work or you or together, whatever, it's really in vain. You're not really earning as much as you think you are because you're just spending it every single week. So love your spouse enough to take him into consideration in your finances and what you guys do with your money. And me and Amador, he has never ever said to me, my money, in other words, his money, because he's the main breadwinner. And it's ours. It's ours. And actually, he'll still ask me for advice. You know what, babe, I'm thinking of this. What do you think?
Right.
And people have actually asked him, why do you need to ask your wife? It's like, because that's how we connect. I respect my wife.
Then there's peace,
Yeah, it's not like we're asking each other for permission, but it's about honor and respect. And that's why I've grown in more just admiration for my husband, because he takes me into consideration. And so
we had a couple questions. How to get counseling or guidance for unmarried couples? I would say just find, Pastor Stephen always says, never take advice from somebody you wouldn't trade places with. So find a couple of couples in your life that have the marriage you want to have one day. And maybe take them out for coffee and ask advice from them, like, how did you guys do it? How was your dating life? Like, get their history and talk to them and soak them up, because you become who you hang out with. So hang out with those couples as a couple. And then the other one, someone asked about how repairing your credit. I have a video on YouTube, so go to Savvy Mamas, and I talk about
what's the title of that one? Do you remember?
I think it's how to get good credit with these 3 tips or something like that. But just real quick, get yourself a secured credit card. That's like number 1. Secured credit cards, if you don't have good credit, is like probably one of the fastest ways to build up your credit. And then pay off your bills. Try to stay on time with a lot of things. And like I said earlier, have a budget and have a plan, and it just takes time. Nothing's going to happen overnight. You can also call the credit reporting agencies and work out a deal with them. I've had to do that a couple of times for something that I didn't even do that got thrown into the credit agency. It was horrible. And we spent 6 months talking to them, and if you're persistent, They'll
What's
cancel
this red
it.
dress? No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
No, it was a phone bill that I had canceled, but the Sprint company didn't cancel it. And
Oh,
they
I
threw me
see.
into collections without any notice or anything.
Mhm.
So, but if you're persistent, it'll pay off. So just keep working at it, be persistent, you know, give it 6 months and you'll see it change.
Just remember, it's free to ask. You never know what the answer is going to be, right?
That's right.
And the worst that they can say is no. And
Yep.
then just work out a plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or just call and get somebody else.
Exactly.
Just be persistent.
Persistent, persistent. Absolutely. Do we have one last question by any chance? And then we will. Let's see. I think we're doing excellent with time.
Ceci, you're so gorgeous. Your,
Yes, you
your
are.
husband's on his way. Don't you worry.
And you're so talented on that
Yes, you
guitar. You rock it, girl. This Sunday, I just want you to do this.
She can play like any instrument. I didn't even know that about her until
I know, she's like, she even flipped her hair this Sunday. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
I love it.
No. That's fantastic.
Hi, Sharon.
That's great. Alrighty, girl. I think we're gonna bring it to a close. Is there any last words that you just want to share? Anything? Any last thoughts from your heart? From Savvy Mama Jane?
Yeah, I don't know. Just go watch my YouTube channel and be yourself and be a light and love Jesus and love people and keep on trucking.
Yeah. So okay, so we can find you on your YouTube channel under
Savvy Mamas, and that's SAVVY MOMMAS. Savvy Mamas.